Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on They Crawl Beneath. Kind of looks like a low-budget Tremors remake without Remo Williams or Kevin Bacon. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books. Links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's what? It's the Pineys, books 1 through 9, available at Amazon.com. So, these guys live in an area that looks like where the Tremors guys live. The monster in the movie looks like the Tremors monster. They're causing tremors. And it starts out in this garage. They're working on a car. An uncle and his nephew. And he's got the garage door propped up with a board, which isn't a good idea considering the tremors. So, like, the door comes down, and then I guess the car comes down on the nephew's legs. And his uncle is dead, and he's trapped in the garage. And I think he spends most of the time trapped in the garage, fighting the evil worm creatures, who are just smaller versions of the Tremors guys. And, you know, there's a big... and he even calls... There's even a scene where he calls this woman for some reason, and she is, I don't know, doing tests on the creature, and then she gets murdered by one of the creatures. So he's trapped inside the garage, and then the car. I assume the car doesn't work, or else he'd just start up and drive out, get to the hospital. But his legs are all messed up, and then here he's standing later in the movie, so I guess he recovers partially. But here's the Tremors monster. I mean, doesn't that look exactly like the Tremors monster? Almost. I mean, it's pretty similar, right? It's pretty similar, only it's smaller. And then, you know, he spends the whole movie trapped in a garage. It's called They Crawl Beneath. I mean, you know, and here they kind of contradict the title of the movie, because the creature comes from above and bites him. This is produced by Susan De Laurentiis. Oh, De Laurentiis are involved. Tricia Arend is a writer, and Dale Fabregar is the director. Yeah, I'm kind of underwhelmed by this, unless this is supposed to be Tremors. Like, is this supposed to be a remake of Tremors? Is this somehow connected to Tremors? They Crawl Beneath. I mean, because it just doesn't seem that cool. You know, Tremors was fun. This just seems sort of, you know, low-budgety version of this, with people doing a hand puppet for the monster and him trying to reach for tools and stuff. Like, they hobbled him early in the movie, and then he spends the whole time, or most of the time, in the garage. I mean, it's a good idea for a low budget, I guess, but it's a little too close to Tremors, I think. And I really do love Tremors. The first Tremors movie's good, really solid. The other ones are okay, but the first one's great. And fun. This just looks kind of okay. It doesn't look particularly dark, although it is a bit dark. I guess his uncle dies. But I don't know. It just seems like a low-rent version of Tremors. It's like, why would you do it like this? You know, why wouldn't you do it, I don't know, at least make the worms look different. They look pretty similar. I mean, they don't have that tongue in the middle, but they got teeth, and they're constantly biting this poor guy, who's, I mean, I gotta say, the lead actor, he's bringing as much energy as he can to the role. This is a dumb scene, like right here, come on. So she's doing a test on, I don't know how she's doing the test and not helping this guy. Like, how do you call someone and not immediately say, hey, shut up and listen to me? I'm trapped in a garage, both my legs are broken, and then yet she still says, oh, no, wait, listen to me. I've done some tests on the worms, and it turns out they're very venomous. Ah! I mean, that's basically what happens. According to this trailer, anyway. It's just bad. that's not the way. You shouldn't put this in the trailer if that's what really happens. And he finds their little home through a crack in the floor. It's like, why doesn't he just cover up the crack? Here he is. He captures one of them using a paper bag. I don't know. It doesn't look good. It just doesn't look. I mean, I get why you're doing it. I get why you're doing it in a garage. I get it. It's a trapped in a garage thing, trapped in an elevator thing, whatever you want to call it. But that doesn't make it. I mean, it's realistic, as realistic as it can be. But that being said, how could you not compare this to Tremors? You know? So, first act, they show up, they're going to fix this car. There's wacky news reports about tremors in the local area. And Uncle Bill props up his garage open with a board. Even though there's probably some news reports about tremors. And I think they actually say the word tremors too. Which, again, that should have been a word that should have been banned from the script in this movie. Oh, no, don't say tremors. Say minor earthquakes or something. So they're fixing the car, and then there's a tremor, of course. The door falls down, hits the car, knocks the car off the jack, lands on him, I guess kills Uncle Bill and injures him so badly he can't get out. And then the worms come. He passes out. Then later the worms bite him and wake him up, and he's trying to call for help, but no one's around, or he just misses like a cop who shows up. Uncle Bill is dead. The worms are getting more and more voracious. He eventually pulls himself, a second act, he pulls himself out from under the car somehow. I don't know, using the jack or using some means. Gets out from under it, but he's still horribly injured. Can't get out of the garage for some reason. I guess the door's too heavy and he's too injured. I guess. I mean, there's no other way out of this garage. Seems like a wacky garage. But okay. He's trapped in the garage for this whole second act. And the worms are coming to get him. So he's looking around in the garage for things he could use to fight. And he's injured. So eventually he finds a gun, which is a pretty good weapon to use in a fight against monsters. And I don't know. They showed a big thing of bullets. I assume they fit the gun. He tries to shoot some of the snakes, or whatever they are, worms. Maybe hits one, otherwise doesn't really work. Eventually he's forced to retreat into the car, where the worms still manage to get in, and he tries to hold one with a plastic bag, and that sort of works. And then, I don't know, maybe he gets the car started and then drives out. That would be a big ending, I guess. Climax of the movie, he drives out, or he gets out some other way, maybe through a window. I don't know. At some point he gets out of the garage, and that will probably be an indication that the movie's almost over. I think this is that kind of movie. It's so low budget, they had to keep it, keep most of the action inside the garage. And then he gets out and, I don't know, the big scene. Or he has a big scene inside the garage, kills the worms. Maybe, I don't know, makes a homemade explosive out of the bullets and some gasoline and some rags. Sets it on fire, drops it down the hole, and then dives out a window, and kablamo, the whole garage goes up. But when he gets outside, there are more of these worms, and he's screwed. I mean, that's not a bad ending, I guess, if it's that. It's just, a little too close to Tremors for me. And Tremors it's so much fun. I know you can't do that Tremors necessarily. Although Tremors was kind of low budget. I think you can do Tremors, right? I guess it wasn't low budget. more like low Hollywood budget, because it did have Michael Gross, Remo Williams, Kevin Bacon. I mean, those are pretty big names. Some of the sequels I don't think had everybody. I think one of the last sequels just had Michael Gross. um, but yeah, I mean, if you're going to do this kind of movie, I think you really need a major change in the monster. Like, I get why you have to do worms, kinda, but maybe you should have done something that was very not worm-like. You could still call them worms, but like, I don't know. It just seemed, and maybe do CGI instead of doing puppets. Because I can't help but think that this movie is going to be unintentionally funny when he's fighting the puppet. When he's fighting the puppet worms. You know what I mean? It's not going to be scary. It's just going to be like unintentionally funny. So, I don't know. They Crawl Beneath. Maybe if the effects were better. No knock against the lead. Oh, here's a synopsis. After an earthquake leaves Danny trapped and alone, his claustrophobic nightmare only gets worse when something truly horrifying emerges from the fissures in the ground, forcing him to engage a brutal fight for his life and his sanity. Well, I mean, claustrophobia could add another element to it, but that's awfully convenient too. So, I don't know. There's a lot riding on this actor. I mean, he looks like he could maybe deliver the lines. He's not bad in the trailer. He's not bad. I mean, but it's just the puppets that worry me. The worm puppets, they're not really scaring me. They just look kind of like ah. Maybe they just needed to do something more slower or more evil looking, you know? And I'd be interested in seeing the origins of these things. Do they go into that or what? So, would I see this movie? It's my kind of movie. I think it needs more humor in it. If it was, at least if it was humorous, I could forgive its foibles. If you're going to try to sell this as a serious horror movie, you know, that's a high bar. It's a high bar to scare me. I don't know about you, but I got a high bar for scare. I can count on the fingers of one hand how many movies actually kind of scared me. This does not look scary to me at all. But if it had some light comedy in it to mix it up, you know, some great one-liners from him zinging the worms and delivered well, I could forgive more of it, you know? I could get into it because at least it would be more of an engaging, funny guy, and I could relate to him a little bit because I'd be cracking jokes left and right if I was in that situation. But maybe they just don't have the writing talent. I don't know. So it's called They Crawl Beneath. It's not a bad title. I like the title. But I think it takes itself a little too seriously. So I don't find it scary. Especially this scene. You know, this scene is like, are you kidding me, scene? Are you kidding me? He's talking to her on the phone and then she's horribly murdered by the worms. I mean, if you do that a bunch of times, maybe it would be funny, I guess. So, third act, I don't know, he gets out and escapes and wins. I don't know. Just seems like they could have gone at least in a funny direction and ended the movie with a big laugh instead of trying to convince me this is a real thing and it's just not relatable enough. You know, It Follows, if you've seen that movie, that was kind of like urban legend-y. I could kind of get into it. I mean, Supernatural, you got a lot more of a leeway. This, I'm just like, if you're not gonna do funny like Tremors, then you gotta really separate this from Tremors. And I get it; it's not quite the same, but it's so close, right? I mean, you gotta admit that's kind of close. You know, and there's not much you could do with a creature like this in terms of redesign. You can go to Dune Way, but that's kind of close to Dune. I mean, you know, it doesn't have the tongue or whatever, but yeah, I don't know. I'm just not Just not digging it. Anyhow, it's called They Crawl Beneath. That's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. We'll see you tomorrow at Lucille's Luncheonette in Warren Grove from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Get yourself a copy of the Pineys and a Jersey Devil cheesesteak. We'll see you tomorrow.